Professor of the School of the Environment at the University of Technology in Sydney. He's the Director of the Centre for Environmental Sustainability and the President of the Australian Coral Reef Society. Pretty good credentials to talk to us about the importance of sharks in the ecosystem and some of the alternatives available to lethal measures today.
Thanks very much, and thanks for all coming out today. I think I'm speaking to the converted here, but I will say that we are under global scrutiny at the moment for the way we treat our sharks and manage them. So really, we're playing for big stakes getting this right. This is all driven, of course, all the issues we're having are driven by the basic human fear of sharks, I think, and as we know, the risk is very, very slight, but we perceive it to be much higher. So a lot of the problems we're having is driven by that. I'm going to talk a little bit today very quickly about why we need sharks. Again, a lot of you will know these things, but I just want to give you the scientist viewpoint. Just to tell you, we are winning the war if the war is about removing sharks from our planet, which is very, very sad in my opinion. Then a little bit about what's going on at the moment with the nets and the drum lines and what we can do instead. One of the themes for me as a scientist is evidence. And a lot of the things you hear about in the paper or the methods being used at the moment, there is little to no scientific evidence that they're even working. So we want to change that. First of all, we know there's over 400 species of shark in the world, little tiny ones to the big guys. Only a small fraction of those is a danger to humans in any way, shape or form. They have a value, even if you don't like them intrinsically, which we all do of course. They have a fisheries value. There's been more and more work showing that the removal of sharks in the Pacific and other places, and we've lost nearly 80%, is having a really bad effect on fisheries, and even the habitats. Loss of coral reefs and seagrass have been attributed to the loss of sharks indirectly. So it's pretty powerful evidence that we need those creatures. Last year, there's estimated over 100 million sharks were killed for food and other things by commercial and recreational fishers. At the same time, about 100 of us were killed by them. So there's about 1,000,000 to 1 asymmetry there. So we really are winning the war. So what about nets and drum lines? Well, clearly they're in the water there to assuage people's fear of sharks, and it's a highly politically charged issue. Again, as a scientist, it's really quite disappointing that science does not often enter into this. It's emotion, which is fair enough. We need some new scientific understanding, and the good news with the science is technology has come to our rescue. In the last few years, has seen the rise of underwater acoustics, where we can track individual sharks, we can tell species, size, where they're going, where they've been. So more and more, whether it's bull sharks in the harbour or white sharks or anything, we can tell what their behaviour is. So now it gives us a chance to look after ourselves and keep out of their way, if that's the way to do it. There's a lot of non-lethal methods out there at the moment. Things like eco-barrier and shark shields use electrical pulses. Sadly, the latter one there has been shown not to work, even though as a scientific diver, I'm required to wear a shark shield whenever I dive. So again, no evidence, but we've got to do it. So we need more evidence. Things like the clever buoy, etc., need to be tested scientifically, and we can do that. Once we get this done, we can combine it with aerial surveys and just plain old common sense to reduce the risk of sharks hugely, much more than we would by putting in drum lines which remove the wrong species, or nets. Last year, 2011, 2012, around about 150 sharks were killed in the New South Wales nets. Only about 30 of those were dangerous sharks, not to mention all the other sea creatures. So there's so much collateral damage, I think they don't have a future. So finally, I just want to commend the Premier for coming out and saying if his government's re-elected, they would be prepared to do proper trials of at least one of the methods. I say to him, make sure it's a proper scientific study with all the methods included, and then we might be able to finally rid ourselves of these horrible nets. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Up next, guys, is a wonderful advocate of the ocean, Miss Laura Wells. She's an advocate